Oh yeah?
I'm a high school teacher,
Thanks for joining us.
But stuff going through the whole picture of this is how we're going to see it, right? By the way, not all of our games will be we're also going to have worry about how we and a whole process.
Hello? All right, it works. Is this better? This is better. All right, thanks for joining us. We have a great panel here to talk about customized fan experiences. I'd like to do some introductions myself. I'm David Gravenkemper, running my own consulting company right now. Ran ticket sales at University of Washington for 10 years. I've worked for the Mariners and the Sonics, and they're still here. So a lot of sports background in the area. And Kyle Waters right here next to me. Quick intro, and then we'll go down to Chris, and then down to Scott.
Yeah, so my name is Kyle Waters. I'm the Senior Vice President of Ticket Sales and Service for the WNBA champion, Seattle Storm. Yeah. So I first started with the Supersonics and the Storm back in 2005. And then when the Supersonics moved to Oklahoma City, I stayed with the Seattle Storm. But then during that time also, I spent a couple years as the general manager of ticket sales and customer service for the Purdue Boilermakers in the Big Ten Conference. So I have a little bit of college athletics experience as well.
Chris Beretta, Senior Associate AD, University of North Texas. Started my journey in pro sports, FC Dallas. I worked for them for 2 years, then I jumped up for 6 years with Seahawks and Sounders, and then got into the collegiate setting. My first job with the Citadel, actually, in Charleston, South Carolina. So I jumped strategically around the country and also teach as adjunct professor, so I have a different lens than just the pro side.
Scott Frasnelli, currently with Las Vegas Lights FC of USL soccer team, but majority of my background was 16 years in ECHL hockey, minor league hockey, so bounced around the country a few times. Charleston, worked there for a few years, helped start a team in San Francisco, was in Bakersfield, California, Austin, Texas, so the league office in Princeton, New Jersey, so a lot of hockey, but I'm now in this football world.
Love it. So we'll just jump right in. I think that everyone knows that the trend in the sports industry right now is attendance is typically going down. There's a lot of competition out there in the market for fans' dollars, and a changing demographic. There's a younger fan that needs to be catered to these days, and other reasons as well. So A lot of teams are now going to more of a customized interaction engagement with their fans, and I'd like each of you to give us maybe a best practice of what all you guys are doing. All three of these teams have bucked the trend. Attendance, I think, is up for the Storm. UNT has some record attendances there for student attendance, and the Vegas team down there on the end, and they're a brand new team. They really killed it in their first year. So listen to what they have to say.
Yeah, sure. So with the Seattle Storm, I mean, we've definitely learned that it's not a one-size-fits-all approach. You know, back in the day, we used to just have like standard season ticket holder benefits that we just offered to everybody, but didn't really customize it much at all. And then since then, we've transitioned to an annual membership model that our fans can customize their own experiences and their own benefits throughout the year. So for example, for our members that have children that are more interested in like family experiences, we have a separate season ticket holder party that we offer that's really targeted for families to have a great time hanging out with our players and coaches. But then we have like another event that's more targeted towards corporate and you know, people that are looking for more of like a adult, you know, entertainment experience with alcohol and all that good stuff with the players and coaches, more like a bar setting. And we found that by separating the two, we're able to better satisfy our different fan bases, because when we tried to do like one party for all season ticket holders, you try to make everybody happy and you kind of make nobody happy by doing that. So we get feedback from families saying, hey, why isn't it more family oriented? We get feedback from the adults saying, hey, why is it all about the kids? Because we're trying to like make them all happy, and we found that by separating it, we're actually able to optimize on both sides. That's some info I have for you on the Storm.
Similar to Kyle, we found it incredibly impactful for our bottom line to have really a segmented approach. So I'll first talk about our students. For a decade, it was just falling pretty tremendously poorly. And we came in and decided to partner with Experience with student tickets. All of the students at UNT, we have 38,000, top 20 population in the entire country. A liberal arts school as well. So re-engaging, you know, those young people right into their phone with text messages has helped hugely with student guest ticket purchases, as well as the students coming to the games. I gave you guys a little handout. So as you can see from the 10 years of you know, low turnout, it's not, you know, a fun experience for young people. So from a grassroots level, we went out and with the sororities and the frats and the various departments, and just let them know what we're trying to do. Our goal is to be #1 in Conference USA, not only with student attendance but engagement. And right now, I believe we're #1 with two, you know, extremely high crowds for us and records. We had 30,000 for Louisiana Tech, and our game against SMU was #1 as well. So we want to be a leader in innovation and strategy, and with Experience, we've been able to do that. It took a little bit of time to get up and running, but it's a company that's helped us tremendously through text messages and emails directly to the students. We were in beta testing for a while with University of Washington. They're a Paciolan school as well. They transitioned from Ticketmaster to Paciolan, similar to us. Ticketmaster, being the behemoth beast, is great when you're just solely focused on tickets. With us, it's tickets and donors. And Paciolan has the 90+% market share in the collegiate setting, so that was our goal when we transitioned from TM to PAC, is to keep Experience. So that was exciting. From a resources standpoint, we cut expenses quite a bit as well. It really took about 1.5 FTEs, full-time equivalents, to really maintain the craziness with students coming up and hard tickets and student IDs and all of that. Now, it's all on your phone and you're scanning it. So it's been a blessing in that setting where we've cut expenses, so my AD and CFO have loved that. As you guys can see, I mean, it's very simple, where you literally are getting a text and a bombardment day before the game, Wednesday before a Saturday game, Friday before a game, and then at 8 or 9 in the morning is when we go out with that text message. And just like ZipWhip and other companies, ZipWhip's actually based in Seattle. You guys are Mariners may use them, but that's been a huge success with us. In general, with fan experiences, we came in with a different approach, similar to some of my other stops, in building genuine, sincere relationships, no matter if it's a season ticket holder with touch points and making sure it's in the CRM system in Salesforce, or youth group experiences. Just getting out there and getting to know them has helped pay dividends.
So Las Vegas Lights, this was our first year. So the whole experience, and this is what was exciting for me, some of you probably heard the Sounders speak earlier, but coming into soccer, I mean, I didn't know much about soccer, and it's all about the fan experience, the supporters groups, the TIFOs, and I mean, I'm jumping on YouTube and I'm interviewing like, this is insane. I grew up in Oregon, so Portland Timbers. So we're coming into Vegas, which is a unique market in its own right. There's a lot going on. And our owner, it was tricky because we were selling an experience that we had never done. So we're on the news talking about how awesome this is going to be, but we rely, I mean, supporters groups are fans. So we had to get a little unique with helping them along, but not controlling them. So we actually give them flags every game. They give us like $5 and they get it back at the end of the game. So, and we shoot off streamers during the game into the stands. So it's kind of creating that experience that we knew we had to put a little gas on the fire. Like hopefully it'll be on their own and the crowd will be doing it, but we couldn't hope because we were selling it for months that it's going to be this experience. So that was successful for us. Like we said, we had a good first year. We started out 10,000 on our first game and we did not score a goal, but everybody had fun. I mean, that's the goal in soccer is have that experience without much going on in the field sometimes. And I think then the key is there's so many segments of looking at the big picture because not everybody wants to stand and cheer, and the supporter section can get a little rowdy. And we've had some of that feedback as well. So you have to be strategic with, one, trying to give people an advance notice. That's something that's been eye-opening to me is we actually had multiple emails after our last game of, well, we thought it was weird the band played the entire game, and I'm like, that's soccer. But that's showing me there's people coming to games that they still don't know, so we're educating the market as well. And we have to not lose sight of there are going to be people that want to sit in a different area and not wave flags. So you cannot have flags in our midfield seats because they'll block the view. And so kind of taking that 10,000 foot view and trying to plan for that as we go. And we do a tailgate beforehand, really just trying to like make sure you're having fun from the start till the end. But it takes a lot of work and a lot of planning and a lot of execution. And I think, I won't go too much into it, but one of the areas we've learned we need to get better is in the details. This season was just a waterfall, and it came quickly. So I think we've done a good job. We've had the tailgate, we've had the streamers, we're given the flags, but there's some of the details, just like our usher staff is not checking tickets. People can go anywhere. When there's disagreements in the stands, our security is not as proactive as they need to be. So that's one thing I've been speaking with my staff about. I mean, it's just never-ending work, is if somebody comes and they're like, well, that supporters was cool, but then there was a real drunk guy like passing out, and my kids don't need to see that, we might lose that person potentially forever. And I think a lot of times they just want to see, hey, things are going to happen. It's a live event. There are crazy fans. They just want to see us being proactive to make a safe environment. And I think we've probably failed a little bit on that. So that's the details are something we're going to work a lot towards when it comes to experiences.
Good stuff. So from what you guys have all said, you've talked about building relationships with your customers, which means getting to know them, which means getting data. So data is a big part of being able to customize your fan experience. What are you guys doing to capture that data? Is it mostly surveys? Are you doing calls? And then where are you housing that data once you get it?
Yeah, sure. So with the Seattle Storm, what we do quite a bit is ask for feedback about the way that our members want to be communicated with. You know, again, we used to just take for granted that if we're ever going to go out with a communication, just send them all the same thing with the, you know, same delivery method, whether it's email or direct mail, which has kind of gone away for the most part. And what we've found is that our members have a different desire of a quantity of communication and also how they're communicated with. So we've divided our members into 4 different buckets of different kinds of communication methods. We have some members that say, only email me, and only email me if it's really important. Otherwise, don't email me at all. So, like if we make the playoffs, and like we need to get them the playoff schedule, that sort of thing, like they get those emails, but they don't want to hear the once a week, you know, random like player information and that sort of thing. We have the total opposite with other members that say, the more the better. Like every time they get an email from the Seattle Storm, it's like a gift, it's great, whatever. So it's like we have some members like say, only email me if it's critically important. Other members that say, I can't get enough. Like email me all the time, anytime something happens, every day, that'd be great. And then we have members that say, don't email me, only phone calls. So we have our customer service team with our personal representatives that have a list of the accounts that prefer to be called instead of receiving emails, and we will call them with information. And then we have another bucket that's kind of like a mixture of both, which is a combination of, you know, I want the regular, like, you know, consistent emails you would typically receive as a season ticket holder, and also a phone call if anything important comes up. But that's one of the ways that we're doing the again, the customized experience based on the data that we collect based on the feedback we got from our members.
For us, we had a secondary market partner that was a guy that we had a relationship with for 10 years. And before I got to University of North Texas, we didn't obtain any of that data of folks that purchased tickets on the secondary market, and most of the time spent 20 to 50% more than what face value was. Those are great leads for the sales team with multi-game packs and season tickets and just telling the story and getting to know them. So for us, we now have a great relationship with a secondary market partner that's getting us that data of an email address, phone number, and name of those folks around the country. So right now I think we have about 1,200 leads. So that's great, and we're only halfway through the season. So that is, you know, tremendous for the sales team to hopefully close at a good rate for us. So that's number one. We're also getting a direct integration with StubHub with Paciolan. So that's something that's going to be exciting as well. In regards to our alumni, we have over 200,000 alumni in DFW. So when you graduate as a student, you've got your student email, right? But it's always difficult for a university to actually get, well, your mom, you had your address down in Fort Worth. Well, now you live in Dallas. Well, what's your email and your phone number and all that data? So we're really working to kind of revamp everything, and we're actually using experience with a gift from our athletic director. When you graduate from the University of North Texas, you receive 2 free complimentary football season tickets. And we're trying, and then we partnered with the Dallas Stars, where the Dallas Stars are loving the data of 38,000 undergrads in their database. So if you sign up and say that you want the 2 season tickets with UNT, you're going to get 2 free tickets with the Dallas Stars. It has to be compliant and a bunch of other stuff, but that's been a success right there for us. We had about 80 or 90 new season ticket, new grads that redeemed last year. This year, pulled that number, and it was about 1,200. So that's a decent return there.
Yeah, so being a new team, that was our key focus. Was when I was coming in, I said we just need leads. Hiring 10 people, who are they going to call? We were fortunate, we had some lists. They tried to bring an MLS team to Vegas in 2014, so they had to sign up and support the team. We were able to get our hands on that list. Obviously awesome, very soccer focused, the youth soccer. So our data started with very soccer heavy, and we went with that. But now that we've evolved and we have single game buyers and people that have checked this out, it's kind of what Kyle was saying. I mean, I've said this to my office a lot lately. Data. Everybody talks about data. Well, in today's day and age, getting data isn't the hardest thing. It's what are you going to do with that data? And that's the challenge. I mean, that's what I rack my brain with all day long. And I mean, it sounds simple, but it's not always executed. Is like labels in Gmail. So in our CRM, we have tags, and we've not started using them much. And that's one thing in the off season I'm going to be pushing on my sales staff, is because it goes to that. I need to know if somebody's like, I'd rather you call me, don't email me, because you never know. Like they were saying earlier, the guy was like, you can't please everybody. You can't, because somebody says, I love all the emails you send me, and somebody's like, you guys are killing me, quit emailing me. So that's our challenge moving forward, is looking for software companies that can help with that. I work hand in hand with marketing, but also relying on our sales team, because they're the people speaking to the individuals one-on-one. And I mean, it sounds simple, but as much as using our CRM to tag people so that we know, and then communicating them with the way they want to be communicated with, or what makes sense. Hey, you're calling me about a season ticket, but I came to two games. Like, well, let's convey the proper message. I think today's consumer is a lot savvier of a consumer, because we have this. I mean, we have all the information you need. So back when I started, they needed me to call and give them information. Now they're like, I'm never going to answer the phone because I can figure out about your team if I want to. So how do we communicate with them? And it is all about the data, but how are you going to make that work for you? And we don't have it completely figured out yet. So
That's great. I don't know how many of you guys are in the One Mob presentation earlier, but they did say in the last 2 years there's more data that's been created than was generated in the previous 100 years. So data is not going anywhere. We're getting more and more of it, and it's our jobs to figure out what to do with it, like you said, Scott. Let's talk briefly about season tickets. Again, season tickets, attendance is dropping across the industry. Season tickets have always been the cornerstone of attendance and ticket sales in general. The Oakland A's have just launched a new access membership program where they're basically disrupting the whole traditional season ticket format. You can sign up for access membership and you get tickets to every game guaranteed, with upgrade opportunities and severe discounts on concessions and parking when their fans come out to the games. Do you guys see this as being a trend that more teams are going to do? I know it varies by sport. Football is different from baseball, but is that something you guys see coming down the road, or do you have any other foresight as to what's out there?
I know, I mean, you touched on it earlier that, with attendance going down in sports, and with it being easier to watch on TV sometimes and more affordable and whatnot, there has to be like a what's in it for me approach to these fans. I know with the Storm, what I've found is I need to give my sales team flexibility on what they're able to deliver to new season ticket buyers in order to close the deal. So like one of the questions that we ask on our calls is, what would we need to do in order to incentivize you enough for you to become a season ticket member today? And it's amazing because we've gotten answers like, well, I just want to introduce my daughter to Super. So like if you can introduce my daughter to Super, maybe get us like a photo opportunity or something, then that might be something that I would be willing to do. And then we can make these things happen. So I've definitely found that we have to ask like them, what would it take? And it's surprising because we get answers that will drive them to buy season tickets, but if we didn't ask, I don't even think we'd come close to selling them a season ticket, but they'll do it for some kind of extra like customized benefit.
I just say they sold the heck out of me. I had a conversation with one of his salespeople a couple months ago, and I'm like, oh, what do you want? Well, I'm looking for a job, looking for this, looking for that. I'm not really sure yet. And well, let's have coffee. We end up leaving from the one coffee date. She sold me I end up purchasing over in the last couple of months, I think I did about maybe 10 suites.
Yeah.
And then came back as season ticket holder. And then some of my folks now want to be season ticket holders from this guy's ability to say, what do they need? And all I wanted was, I do a project where I recognize 100 leading ladies of color who are in this region, who are unsung heroes, who don't get the recognition. So I said, well, I want them to be recognized. This guy put me on the court, video, a 1-minute video, and that was it. I'm like, give me 10 sweets.
That's right, and that was really great for all of us too. And one of the things that was important to us as well. But one of the things I'll share too on that, so with her, being on our court and us recognizing, your cause and all that, mission alignment does matter to our owners and our president. So as soon as we let our president know what her organization was all about, and they had the same values, we shared values with this group, with the Storm, and so that's another thing that matters too. So it has to be mutually beneficial, and we won't do anything that we think messes up our integrity or who we are. It's if somebody wanted to go on the court and say something or do something that didn't match our values, then we wouldn't do it. But because there was alignment, we're yeah, this is perfect. This is a great partnership.
So for us, I've seen a lot in my decade career. Seahawks and Sounders, we did some unique gifts. And at the Citadel, we beat South Carolina in the SEC. So we did a commemorative championship ring, and we sold crazy amount of season tickets that year, but we had folks that just wanted to buy the ring, so they paid $100, and then we were able to get it donated. That's when you've done a good promotion with season ticket holders, or a bobblehead night where it's you're able to drive revenue. But providing a needs analysis is huge. So similar to the Super story, just going down and interacting with our players and coaching staff, or doing a coach's chalk talk resulted in 1,000 group tickets purchased with 2 football associations this year. So going that extra mile, going to have the coffee dates, and going from there, you never know what things could come up, right? And being genuine and can separate yourself in a clouded, saturated marketplace where 7 million people live in DFW, TCU, SMU, us, Cowboys, FC Dallas, the list goes on, Maverick Stars. There's a lot of entertainment on top of high school football, which is like colleges. So there's a lot to do, and that's what I would say we've done. But sure.
Yeah, this is when it comes to the season ticket and that type of pass that the Oakland A's are kind of introducing. It's an interesting subject. So we started off with around 3,500 season ticket holders. A lot of them. I don't know if this is live streaming. I might have to watch. But part of our challenge has been season ticket holders showing up towards the end of the year and getting the use out of the tickets. So it's something I started asking myself. I mean, the Golden Knights had a decent year. So I would go around and ask, how many Knights games did you go to? How many Knights games? And I came from hockey. I went to 1 game last year. The average, if you come to 36 hockey games, you're a diehard fan or a little weird. So I feel like we have to embrace reality of maybe somebody's not even going to come to 20 USL soccer matches a year. But that's kind of scary because I'm also in the business of selling season tickets my whole career. So you really do have to, I think it's customized, but we can't stop selling. So we can't just give up on, nobody's going to come to 20 games, because I want you to become that much of a fan, but customize it. So some of the things, we did the regular, if you miss a ticket, you can redeem it. But we do talk about that. You got to watch it, because I've been talking to my owner a lot about this, because he's like, I don't want to take that away. I'm nervous about our renewal. I don't want to take things away. I said, well, we need to start training people of, it's not a flex plan. You're supposed to plan to try to come to 20 games. And hey, if you miss 2 or 3, I want you to feel like you're getting value for those. But we got to start putting, maybe you can only redeem them to a certain Saturday or something like that. So I've been asking myself that same question of, hey, could we just sell a pass where you can come in whenever you want? I think it's, in a way, it's giving up on the, hey, that's my seat, that pride of being a season ticket holder, because you're not tied to a seat, but it's also embracing the college kids or something that just, they're going to decide Friday night if they're coming, or Saturday morning if they're coming to a match. So I think we're going to try to do both, all of the above, but I think it's how you limit those, say, the passes, and you have to give some limitations, because season ticket holders, this is one thing, our owners, eye-opening for him. They just want to feel special. Like, he was like, I'm willing to buy them all. Let's buy 3 beers a game next year. We're Vegas. We'll give them vouchers. And I was like, yeah, that's a cool idea, but I think you can spend less money, because they've been writing in saying, because we wear these around at the games, and they're like, where can we get season ticket holder badges? And I'm like, you don't have to buy them beer, give them a badge that says I'm a season ticket holder, and they feel special. But I think that's, it's human nature. Like, being in Vegas, hey, there's casino hosts, and the guys that go gamble, they just want to feel special. And a lot of times, season ticket holders, very similar. Like, we're doing a scarf, like only season ticket holders can have. And a lot of what they wrote in was they want merchandise that's only sold to season ticket holders. So I think it's that balance. Like, we want to customize, but we also don't want to dilute our core products. And then season tickets being a core product, and finding a way to, I guess, customize it to make them just feel special, and that way they're going to keep coming back whether they come to all the games or not, because they're going to lose their season ticket badge.
Excellent. Yeah, that's a long-standing question, what to do with unused tickets, and season ticket holders losing value, and that's half the time why they drop. You can't use all those tickets. But on to the next thing, Chris, you mentioned experience and working with them. A lot of teams are using experience for the in-game or in-venue experience, where they can come to the game, they can purchase an on-field experience or a seat upgrade. You can really drill down and specialize some of the in-venue experiences once you get to the stadium. Do you guys do any of those kinds of things at your venues? And what do you see as being, another lure for people that are not season ticket holders, single game buyers, to come out to your games?
Yeah, currently with switching from Ticketmaster to Pacquiao, we have it integrated with the upgrade opportunity with experience, but it's on our list to do in the off season, especially with the positivity in the program right now, with the big win against Arkansas and the fake punt return and all that. This is our time to really capitalize. So we're going to come up with that game plan in the off season. Many professional teams have had huge success with upgrading from general admission to the floor seats or on the field experience. I know in my time in Seattle that was a huge hit, so that's one thing we'll be looping in with Pacquiao Land experience in the offseason.
One thing I saw, I think I was just, we do the typical stuff, walk out with the team. We actually have, being Vegas, the team runs out over, we created these lights, Las Vegas lights, but they're poles so they run down a tunnel of lights that people hold, so the kids hold the tunnel of lights, something unique there. Obviously those type of things, when it comes to experience, are amazing. We just had our last game, a season ticket holder sent in a video he made of his son getting to walk out hand in hand with the players, but they were sitting, just seeing the joy and the kids going wild as the players walk by. I forwarded that to my staff. I said, I've been doing this for 17 years now, and I need to see these kind of videos in the grind of a long season, and I'm working late hours, like, to step back and go, oh man, that's a memory for that family for life. So to tie that into, we're shopping around ticket software, looking at Ticketmaster, and I was on the San Francisco 49ers site, and going through the Ticketmaster purchase, and as you were checking out for their ticket, you could then buy a $100 go to the post-game press conference. And I was like, what the heck? Like, that is genius. So that is something next year, we do a post-game press conference. Yeah, you want to pay me to come listen to our coach talk? Great. And I think people are willing to pay for it, and they're getting that much more of an experience. So I think that's what was eye-opening to me, is put that in the purchase flow. A lot of these things are sometimes you have to do a group to get to walk out with the players. And of course, we're leveraging it for group sales, and that's good. But we're missing out on the general public seeing all the cool things that you can do. Go on the court and be on the jumbotron. Like, somebody's going to talk about that in a room with a panel. Like, you cannot pay for that kind of PR sometimes. And I think hats off to the 49ers, like putting it through the single game buying process. That's something we're going to try to incorporate next year.
I'll add something on experience too. So working for the Seattle Storm, we're partnered with the Pac-12 conference, and every year I work the men's basketball Pac-12 tournament in Las Vegas. And one of the things I'm a part of with them is delivering on and executing the experiences that are provided through experience. And it's super cool. Like for the people, once they get to the tournament, they basically opt in to receive text messages that inform them of incremental experiences that they're providing throughout the tournament. And so, for example, one of the experiences is that for your team, when your team plays, you can go down to the floor and basically be right there, right near the bench during the player introductions. And people buy that. It's like $50 per person or something like that. But I was the guy that would escort those people down. Like, they go to the fan information booth after they buy it, and then they're escorted down. It's kind of like a what do you call that? Where it's like a spontaneous decision by these people. Like, you can kind of imagine the people in their seats, just like, oh my God, I can't believe if we want to go down to the court go down the court right now, we could do that, and they'll buy it like impulsively, and then they video it and all that stuff. It's super cool, and they can show that on like Facebook or Instagram or whatever they want to do, and share with their friends. And it's like, how did you get down there? It's super awesome. Another thing that we do with experience is customized food deliveries, which is interesting. So like at the Pac-12 tournament, they don't have the people trying to sell you food like going up and down the aisles. You have to go to concessions to buy them. But if you pay like $1 more per beer, we'll deliver the beer to you, so you don't have to miss any of the game. And that's kind of a cool thing. And so same thing with food as well. So you just pay like an extra $1 per food item, and the experience execution people like deliver the food instead of you having to get up and leave the game to go get it. So it's kind of cool.
For us, we've done a really good job this year with when we're selling single game tickets on the phone with our team or online. The upsell opportunity with parking. Parking's crazy at our stadium and on campus, so we're able to really kind of hone that in and upsell a lot of folks who are parking, paying $5 or $10, now they're parking and paying $30. So that's been a huge uptick in revenue, just making it easier for folks. That's the whole goal, I think, with all of us here, is just to make it streamlined, and especially with technology, how can it be as seamless as possible in one transaction? So that's been a huge uptick this year. Upselling with partial plans. If you go in and you're buying a single game, it's going to be a cool graphic that comes up. Hey, are you interested in 3 game? We had a huge uptick in that this year as well for us. So really in the off season, there's really not an off season in college athletics. Well, really in collegiate and pro sports, but we got to really retool things to make sure it's directly tied in.
Great, thanks guys. So one thing that I've read about is more of an interactive ticket on your mobile phone, and I'm not sure if that's been activated in places around the country, but the future of tickets could potentially just be a screen, your phone, where it's basically got all your data already implanted into your phone, so they already know you, so it's just going to keep feeding you stuff that you're going to potentially want as you approach the stadium, where you should be parking, where to go once you're inside the venue for whatever you like to drink or eat. So that's kind of maybe part of the future of what ticketing is going to be upholding here. Do you guys see anything else out there, some future trends that you can hit on with customizing experience?
I'll start out by saying I know that the whole transition to going digital with the tickets is really good. Like, it's been super convenient for our fans. Because now, so what we do now with the Storm, we do membership cards. So basically you have one membership card. It's got your season ticket location printed on the card, and it's good for all 18 games. So instead of like having to, have a bunch of paper tickets, you just have a card that gets you in, and that same card that you have, it also gets you your membership discount. Something we've considered doing, we haven't executed yet on it, but to make it like this all-inclusive experience, we've thought about how can that card also get you like special discounts with corporate partners or things like that, so it can spread across not just the experience at the Seattle Storm games, but also across the entire community. So like if you have that card on you, what does it mean with all these other local community partners? I think that could be potentially a huge trend. Because obviously corporate partnerships is a huge moneymaker for all these teams. And it's like, how does that sponsor know if you're a season ticket holder? Like, what's your proof if all you've got is regular tickets? But I think across teams, if they start building out those proof of memberships that could extend out to partners in the community, then that could be hugely successful.
So I got the new iPhone, it has facial recognition, pretty cool. But my friends over at the U.S. Soccer Hall of Fame, they're unveiling it in 2 weeks. It's the management team of FC Dallas, essentially, that are really helping with that. They have a partnership with a company called NEC, and it's facial recognition. So you're going to, basically, you go into the Hall of Fame and you put in the things that you're excited about, like Eric Ronaldo and Alexi Lawless, then every kind of play and cool moment in the 90s comes up. I just did a tour last week, so I think facial recognition at some point will hit us. It just depends on what scale. Naturally, the NFL will be that first team. When I was with the Sounders, we were the first team really in North America to have a card years ago. And on the collegiate side, we are 3 to 5 years from the pros in many regard. And we're going to go with a card next year. But we also have so many season ticket holders between the ages of 50 and 70 that commemorative memento means the world to them, honestly, and they're going to go crazy, and they're going to go to the president and all that, and that just doesn't make anybody's life, great. So similar to Sounders Seahawks, we'll go soft launch and go from there. But facial recognition is what I see 3 to 5 years away.
Just bring your face. No need for a ticket. Yeah, I mean, as far as advancement, it's not rocket science, but one of the reasons we are shopping around for a new ticketing provider, ticketing software, is really to go all in and just embrace the phone. This year, being a new team, my owner mentioned maybe we should go ticketless, and that, maybe I was old school, but that freaked me out. I was like, wow, how are people going to get in the games if they don't have their phone? But I've done a 180 in the last year and really going to embrace the phone and want everything on the phone, because it does. We talked about it before, making it seamless, making it easy for the experience. If you can, we have one device that can house almost everything. We did group scarves this year. Every group ticket got a scarf. And really just the pain of giving the vouchers out and having them redeem it. And what if it was a printed home ticket? So we had a voucher, but here's the thing. We don't check it off. You can go give the phone to your friend. So next year, if we can just house everything in the phone, it's not rocket science that is moving to the future, and we're going to do our best to embrace it with the paperless tickets. And I do think that's one thing, depending on whatever team you go work for. Like the USL is growing, and they have a Division III now, and I don't want to talk bad about a ticketing provider, but our current provider, it gets the job done, and it has the meat and potatoes, but they're challenged by the new technology. And I think that is eye-opening to me on how big of a challenge that has been for us. So yeah, the Ticketmasters of the world may cost more, but you're on the cutting edge of technology, and like we talked about earlier, the customer experience, the savvy consumer, that's what they expect. So if we're not keeping up with that, we're frankly behind. So.
Good stuff. You guys have any questions for us, for the panel? Right in front.
So, my name is Cindy Foster, and I'm a doctoral student at Michigan University, and my research is exploring organizations that are partnering with athletes for social justice causes. And so, of course, I know that the Storm, the Legacy Storm, is doing some incredible work around social justice. But my question was about maybe some of the athletes or organizations that you all might be working with that are allowing the athletes to use their platforms for this new athlete activism kind of thing and championing social justice causes. So are there any experiences that you had, or, anything to talk to us about around?
Yeah, in my time here, we did, Pride Night. We were, I believe, the first team in MLS to do that. And I think that opened up a lot of folks in Major League Soccer's eyes to that. And just, being a good steward and being able, through sports, getting everybody together. It's one thing that's on my list, honestly, being quite honest with you. At UNT, I haven't quite been able to make it happen. But yeah, I think it's incredibly important.
Yeah, I think kind of the big picture, like what you're saying, is being a new team, the Lights, we had a challenge of we probably didn't promote our individual players enough in humanizing them as people. So I love it. In my ECHL hockey background days, there's a player named Scott Tansky who every year does mental health, and it just has become his thing. Every team he's gone to has done a whole mental health night. He does a Tansky talk after the game, so when he came to Charleston when I was still working there, we did it there, and it really like you said, one is hopefully it's a good cause, and that's good for society, and then two, there's definite benefit of humanizing your players, because that's when people become fans. Like you come to a game and you see them on the field, but then you get to talk to them, and you're like, whoa, this is actually a real cool person that can do amazing athletic things, and that keeps the family coming back and buying more tickets too. So I definitely think there's a role for that in building your fan base. But we haven't done a lot of it yet. Yeah,
I think it's tough just in general because, athletes are under such microscopes that there's so much good that they do out there in society, but no one really knows about it. They only hear about it when they mess up, when they go and there's domestic abuse, or they get thrown in jail, or DUI, or whatever it might be. That's when it makes the news. But I mean, God forbid Russell Wilson, he goes to Children's Hospital every Tuesday all year long to go and visit with the kids, and he knows he makes that big of an impact, and it's something that's just built into his nature. Ken Griffey Jr. is another one. Dating myself a little bit, but when he was here, he was always going to Children's Hospital as well, and never made a stink about it, and was never really reported. So, I think that the more the teams, the media especially, can start, putting them in more positive light, then the better.
Yeah, and again, that was just one of the reasons behind our research is that we know that athletes are making a huge impact. We know that teams and organizations are partnering with people and funders and, a whole audience of folks that are making impact on people and social impact on children, but there's not a lot of research that talks about it and really knowing how to share that, right? How do we compile that data? How do we market that? How do we share that in a way that kind of keeps the red tape, in mind too? So.
Yeah, good question here.
Yeah. Guys, we're talking about fan experience, and we have a room full of folks who are kind of looking for the next thing in their careers, perhaps. Since this is a big thing and we know it's going to get bigger and bigger, beyond the technology part, which we know will make it easier, what opportunities do you see coming down the pike in the next, say, 3 to 5 years in this whole fan experience from a personnel perspective?
I'll say that I think customer service is going to continue to be a need for all these sports teams, because you think about there's ups and downs that these teams have as it relates to team performance. But no matter what, you've got to take care of your season ticket holders, and it's a lot of revenue. And so, sure, sometimes teams take customer retention for granted and just assume as long as the team's winning that people will continue to buy their season tickets. But I think they're learning more and more now that, you know, the fans could just stay home and like just watch the games on TV, and they don't have to give the organization their money. So like that, the personal relationships that the season ticket holders build with their season ticket reps, like with these teams, and anything that these reps can do to enhance these people's experiences as season ticket holders, I think that that's going to continue to be a critical human element that complements all the technology.
I completely agree with Kyle on that. For me as well, if you generate revenue, you'll always have a job, and if you're real good at generating revenue, then you're good. So many colleagues that I have started in ticketing and ascended the ranks, or have jumped over to corporate partnership. So you never know. Relationships transcend. So getting to know your fan base, I think will help you get to wherever you want to get to.
Ditto. So I think, starting out your career, I mean, I can speak from example of a guy named John Axman, working in sports. It was his first year. We started a team in Vegas. He walks in, gets a job. What has set him apart is kind of the customer service. He's proactive and uses his brain to help the customer. So sometimes as a sales manager, the challenge is I can't hold your hand all day, every day. And what has set him apart is doing things on his own of like, this is something my season ticket holder should know. So he'll send an email out that I probably should have told him to send out, but he thought of it before I did. And just providing that customer service, like you said, it takes a real human being. As much as we can automate the emails, the texts, that's kind of blanket sales. You can't replace human interaction, and a host almost to kind of go Las Vegas on you still is. That host is important, and like we talked about earlier is sometimes season ticket holders just want to feel special. They don't feel special with the email blast telling them everything. They feel special when John Axman calls them and says, here's my cell phone, text me when you get to the game, and I'll make sure I walk a scarf out to you. So if anything, it's been eye-opening to me on the service side of the staff. Like, we may need more service people because, again, it's revenue, and if our revenue walks away from us, that's a problem. So we need to keep them. So that's kind of what I would say is that.
Yeah, what's the stat? Costs 5 times more to find a new customer than to keep another one? Higher than that?
7.
It's up to 12 times more. So definitely important to build those relationships. Someone else have a question over here?
Yeah, it sounds like a lot of the experiences that fans are craving center around coaches and players. So my question is, from the player and coach's side, is there pushback from them in wanting to be involved, get involved? How much are they involved? Are they contractually obliged to be involved? Do they get to choose the experiences that they participate in?
So I think it's changed a lot. In Major League Soccer, when I first started, the players paid $70 to $100 per player appearance, and now through the new collective bargaining, it's quite high. So they're contractually obligated to perform a certain number of community activities for us. Our coaches and our players definitely want to be involved. There's some compliance issues with sponsors and certain things with student athletes, but as a whole, definitely they want to take part in it. And as we continue to grow our brand, our athletic director and our external team have made it apparent to all the coaches what we're doing and why we're doing it, and they bought in. So I think if you buy in, then you're good. If you don't, then it can be disjointed. Russell Wilson, that was organic. Coach Carroll, that's organic out in the community. Some other teams, it's not like that.
I think every team I've worked for, community service and that type of role is very important. But one thing I will say is, like, I don't know if it's a tip, but like we talked about, these athletes, these coaches, they're humans too. So your community relations manager should keep it in mind to try to make the appearances somewhat fun for the players and the coaches. So we try to team them up so they don't have to go alone. So they, there are those appearances where they're standing at a table and not, we're a minor league USL team. Not everybody's rushing up to them. It's not Russell Wilson standing out there. So, so at least having somebody to interact with. But that was some specific feedback we got from our coach this year. We're a brand new team trying to come into the market. So coach was like, hey, when we send these players to these casinos and nobody knows who they are, this is brutal. So it's that balance. We still need to do it, but we try to be proactive on, let's try to make it fun for them, even if nobody's running up to get their autograph because they don't know who they are. So just be mindful of that, to try to make it fun for them as well, because they are people. They want to go home after practice.
Excellent. We're out of time. Thanks for coming, you guys. Thanks, panel, for discussing customer experiences.
Thanks, everybody.